You think being nice will win you love? No. It will only make you invisible. You think being friendly will bring you respect? No. It will only invite people to use you. Stop being too friendly. Because in this world, people don't value what's easily available. They chase what they cannot have. So if you want to be respected, if you want to be valued, you must set boundaries. Not walls of ego, but gates of self-worth. Because a life spent pleasing others is a life wasted. Now listen carefully, because this will change how people treat you forever. Have you ever noticed how a candle burns itself out while trying to bring light to others? Some people in your life are like those who only come to you when they need warmth, yet they offer nothing in return. You give them your time, your attention, your kindness, and in the end you are left drained. They take, they consume, they benefit, but do they ever truly give back? Do they ever pour into you the way you pour into them? The truth is, not everyone deserves your energy. Imagine waking up in the morning with a full battery, just like your phone. Every conversation you have, every situation you engage in, every person you meet takes a percentage of your charge. By the end of the day, you either feel fulfilled or completely exhausted. The difference? Where and to whom you give your energy. Some people recharge you, they uplift you, they bring peace and joy. But others, they drain you not because they need help, but because they thrive on consuming the energy of others without giving anything in return. Think about that one friend who only calls when they need something. They never check on you, never ask how your day was, never listen when you speak. But the moment they need advice, money, or emotional support, they come running. And you, being the kind and generous person you are, always answer. You give, you comfort, you solve their problems. And once they feel better, they disappear. Until the next time. Does this sound familiar? Now imagine a cup of water. If you keep pouring water out without refilling it, soon there will be nothing left. Your energy works the same way. You cannot keep giving to people who only take. You cannot keep engaging with those who leave you empty. Life is too short to spend it on people who don't respect, appreciate, or reciprocate your energy. Look at the most successful and peaceful people around you. Do they entertain everyone? Do they allow anyone to waste their time, emotions, or mental peace? No, they choose carefully. They know that their energy is valuable, that their time is sacred. They invest in relationships that nourish them, in conversations that inspire them, and in people who bring meaning to their lives. Think about a lion in the wild. It doesn't chase every fly that bothers it. It doesn't waste its energy on things that don't matter. It walks with grace, with focus, with purpose. And that's exactly how you should carry yourself. Stop entertaining people who drain you. Stop engaging in conversations that don't bring you growth. Stop giving unlimited access to those who don't deserve your presence. Some people will say, but isn't it good to help others, to be kind? Of course, kindness is a strength. But kindness without boundaries is self-destruction. You must know where to draw the line. There is a difference between being kind and being used. There is a difference between being generous and being taken for granted. And most importantly, there is a difference between loving people and letting them drain you. Imagine you are a tree. You have roots that keep you grounded, branches that reach for the sky, and fruits that you offer to those around you. A healthy tree gives fruit, but it also needs water, sunlight, and care. Now, if people only come to take your fruits, but never water your roots, what will happen? Eventually you will wither, you will break, you will stop growing. This is why you must be mindful of where your energy goes. Look around you. Who are the people that make you feel lighter and more fulfilled after you talk to them? Who are the people that make you feel exhausted, frustrated, or unworthy? The ones who bring you joy. Keep them close. The ones who drain you, love them from a distance. This is not about being selfish. This is about self-respect. If you don't protect your energy, no one else will. If you don't value your own time, no one else will. If you don't learn to say no, people will assume your yes is unlimited. So starting today, choose wisely. Be kind, but don't be a doormat. Be generous, but don't be a sacrifice. And most importantly, protect your energy. Because not everyone deserves it. Have you ever wondered why diamonds are so expensive? It's not because they are the only beautiful stones on earth. It's because they are rare. Their scarcity makes them valuable. If diamonds were as common as pebbles on the ground, no one would care for them, no one would go out of their way to buy them, no one would treat them as precious. This is the law of scarcity. People only value what is limited what is difficult to obtain, what is not easily available. And this law applies not just to objects, but also to people. Think about this. When you always say yes, when you are always available, when you are always the one reaching out, people begin to take you for granted. Not because they are bad people, but because human nature is wired this way. The more accessible something is, the less people value it. The more they have to work for something, the more they appreciate it. If you are always giving your time, your attention, your presence, without making people earn it, they will never truly value you. Look at the most sought-after luxury brands in the world. They don't put their products on sale. They don't flood the market with endless stock. Instead, they release limited editions. They make people wait. They create exclusivity. Why? Because when something is scarce, people desire it more. They feel privileged to have it. They respect its worth. Now apply this to your life. When you are always available, always the one making plans, always the one responding instantly, people start assuming you will always be there. They stop valuing your presence. They stop appreciating your time. They treat you as replaceable because they don't feel the need to earn your attention. But the moment you step back, the moment you become a little less available, something shifts. Suddenly they start noticing your absence. Suddenly they start wondering about you. Suddenly they begin to value what they once ignored. Look at the people in your life. Have you ever noticed how those who are always giving, always caring, always trying to please, are the ones who are often taken for granted? And on the other hand, those who are a little mysterious, those who don't give their time so easily, those who don't reveal everything about themselves immediately, these are the people who intrigue others. These are the people who hold power. Think about the most admired celebrities, leaders, or influencers. Do they post every detail of their lives? Do they make themselves available to everyone at all times? No. They maintain an element of mystery. They choose what to share and when. They control access to their energy. And because they are not always available, people chase them, admire them, respect them. This applies to relationships too. If you give your love, your affection, your time too easily, the other person stops valuing it. If you're always the one texting first, always the one adjusting your schedule, always the one trying to make things work, the balance is lost. But when you hold back a little, when you create space, when you let them come to you instead of always running to them, suddenly you become more attractive. Suddenly they start missing you. Suddenly they start appreciating what they once ignored. Even in friendships, the same rule applies. Have you ever noticed that the people who don't try too hard to be liked are often the ones who are most respected? While those who overextend themselves, trying to be the nicest, trying to please everyone, are often the ones who get ignored. Why? Because people respect what they have to work for. They value what they cannot easily have. You must understand this. Your time, your energy, your presence, they are all valuable. But if you give them away too freely, people will not see their worth. The moment you start controlling your availability, the moment you start setting boundaries, the moment you stop chasing and let people come to you, everything will change. Look at nature. The rarest flowers bloom in the highest mountains. The most breathtaking views require the longest hikes. The most valuable treasures are buried deep. Nothing precious is easily accessible, and neither should you be. If you want to be valued, respected, and desired, stop making yourself too available. Stop offering yourself too easily. Be like the diamond. Be like the luxury brand. Be like the rare flower. Because people only value what's scarce, and when they realize your worth, they will never take you for granted again. There is a common misconception that being friendly means being weak, that being kind means being a pushover, but this is far from the truth. True friendliness is a strength, not a flaw. It takes courage to be kind in a world that can be harsh. It takes confidence to be warm in a society where many people are cold. But the mistake many make is confusing friendliness with being overly accommodating, with having no boundaries, with allowing others to take advantage. Think about the sun and the moon. The sun is warm, it gives life, it provides light, but it never begs to be seen. It does not chase the planets, it does not lower its power to please others, and yet everything revolves around it. That is how true friendliness should be, radiant, confident, and firm. It should not mean bending over backward to please people who do not respect you. It should not mean tolerating mistreatment just because you don't want to upset anyone. Imagine a person who is always smiling, always accommodating, always saying yes to everything no matter what is asked of them. At first, people appreciate their kindness, but soon They start expecting it. They assume this person will always adjust, always be available, always agree. And slowly their kindness is no longer seen as generosity but as an obligation. They are taken for granted. And when they finally say no, when they finally set a boundary, people react with shock or even anger. Not because they are bad people, but because they got used to this person being too nice. And in their minds, that meant easy to control. Now think of another person who is also friendly, but with a different energy. They are warm, but they have boundaries. They are kind, but they don't tolerate disrespect. They help, but only where it is deserved. They say no when needed, without guilt. And because of this, people respect them. Their kindness is appreciated, not exploited. This is the difference between being friendly and being weak. A strong person is friendly by choice, not by fear of rejection. They don't try to please everyone because they understand that not everyone deserves their effort. They are kind, but they don't tolerate nonsense. They offer help, but not at the cost of their own peace. Take the example of a teacher. A good teacher is friendly with students, encouraging, supportive. But the moment a student starts disrespecting them, the teacher sets a boundary. If they let students walk all over them, the entire class would lose respect. But when they remain firm yet kind, they earn admiration. This balance is what true friendliness should look like. Warm, but never weak. Look at nature. A river flows gently, giving life to everything around it, nurturing trees, animals, and lands. But if someone tries to block it, it carves through rock, creating deep canyons, unstoppable in its force. This is how you should be. Flow with kindness, but don't let anything or anyone stop your self-respect. Many people think that in order to be liked, they must always agree, always adjust, always be available. But the truth is, the most respected people are those who know their worth. They treat others well, but they also demand the same in return. They are polite, but they do not tolerate disrespect. They are approachable, but they do not let people misuse their time and energy. In relationships, this principle is even more important. If you are always the one who compromises, always the one who adjusts, always the one who gives without receiving, soon your kindness will be taken for granted. But when you set standards, when you communicate that your friendliness does not mean you are desperate for validation, people respect you more. They value your presence. They know that if they cross a line, there are consequences. Have you ever noticed how people admire those who are both kind and strong? The leaders who listen but also stand their ground? The friends who support but also know when to step back? The colleagues who are helpful but don't allow themselves to be overburdened? These are the people who have mastered the art of being friendly without being weak. So, the next time someone tries to test your limits, remember, being nice is a choice, not a duty. You do not owe anyone your time, your energy, or your peace just because you are friendly. Your kindness is a gift, not a weakness. And those who mistake it for one will soon learn that a truly strong person may be warm, but they are never easily controlled. Most people struggle with boundaries not because they don't know how to set them, but because they feel guilty about doing so. They worry about hurting others, being seen as selfish, or coming across as unkind. But what they don't realize is that without boundaries, they are allowing their energy, time, and emotions to be controlled by everyone except themselves. Boundaries are not walls. They're not meant to shut people out. They are filters that ensure only the right kind of energy enters your life. They protect your peace, your priorities, and your well-being. Think about a house. A house has doors, and those doors have locks. You don't leave your door wide open for anyone to walk in at any time, do you? No. You decide who gets to enter, who stays outside, and who is allowed into the most personal areas of your space. Boundaries work the same way. You decide who gets access to your time, your energy, and your emotions. You don't just let anyone drain you whenever they please. You set limits, not to push people away, but to protect what matters. Now, let's look at a real-life example. Imagine a friend who constantly calls you to vent about their problems, but never asks how you're doing. Every time you pick up, it's the same story. They offload their emotions and you listen patiently, offering advice, support, and comfort. But when you need someone to talk to, they are nowhere to be found. You start to feel drained, exhausted, maybe even resentful. Why? Because there is no balance. You have allowed them unlimited access to your emotional energy without setting any limits. The moment you decide to set a boundary, perhaps by limiting the time you spend on these calls or by telling them you can't always be available, you might feel guilty, you might worry they'll be upset. But what's the alternative? Continuing to let yourself be emotionally exhausted just to keep them happy? Boundaries are not about saying no to others. They are about saying yes to yourself. When you decline an invitation to an event you don't want to attend, you are saying yes to your own comfort. When you refuse to take on extra work that isn't yours, you are saying yes to your mental peace. When you walk away from a toxic relationship, you are saying yes to your self-respect. Many people struggle with boundaries in their workplace as well. A boss asks them to stay late repeatedly, even though it's not in their job description. A colleague keeps offloading work onto them because they know they won't say no. And instead of setting a boundary, they comply. Out of fear, out of obligation, out of guilt. But the reality is, the more you allow people to take advantage of your time, the more they will. The day you confidently say, I can't stay late today, or this is my responsibility, you are not being rude. You are respecting yourself. And ironically, when you respect yourself, others start respecting you too. Boundaries also apply to family. Just because someone is related to you doesn't mean they have a right to control your decisions, invade your personal space, or manipulate your emotions. Too often, people feel guilty for setting limits with family members, believing they owe them unlimited access. But love does not mean unlimited sacrifice. You can love your family and still say, I need space. You can respect them and still say, that topic is off limits. You can support them and still say, I am not responsible for fixing everything. Relationships flourish when there are clear, healthy boundaries. Without them, resentment builds, misunderstandings grow, and emotional exhaustion takes over. But when you communicate your limits honestly and firmly, you create space for mutual respect. The right people will understand, the wrong ones will be upset. And that's okay. Because boundaries do not push away the right people, they filter out the wrong ones. One of the most powerful things to understand is that setting boundaries does not require an explanation. You don't owe anyone a long justification for protecting your time and energy. No is a complete sentence. You do not have to feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. If someone makes you feel selfish for having limits, it only proves how much they benefited from you having none. Think about your phone's battery. If you kept running every app, every notification, every background process without restriction, your battery would drain in no time. That's why your phone has power saving mode. It limits unnecessary usage to preserve energy for what truly matters. Your life should work the same way. Don't let every situation, every request, every demand drain you. Preserve your energy for what is important. The biggest challenge people face when setting boundaries is fear. Fear of losing relationships, fear of disappointing others, fear of being misunderstood. But the truth is, those who truly value you will respect your boundaries. And those who get angry when you say no, were only using you for their benefit. Boundaries are not selfish. They are a sign of self-respect. They are not barriers, they are bridges to a healthier, more balanced life. And the sooner you learn to set them without guilt, the sooner you will reclaim control over your time, your energy, and your happiness. Silence holds a power that most people fail to recognize. We live in a world where everyone is in a rush to speak, to explain, to defend, and to prove themselves. But those who truly understand power know that silence is often the loudest response. It demands attention, commands respect, and leaves a lasting impact. In many situations, what is left unsaid speaks louder than anything that could be verbalized. Think about the moments in your life when silence has made an impact. A long stare when someone expected an argument. A moment of stillness in a heated conversation. A quiet departure instead of a dramatic confrontation. Silence carries weight because it makes people uncomfortable. It forces them to reflect, to question, to wonder. And in that space of uncertainty, silence becomes a force stronger than any words. Consider a scenario in a heated argument. Two people are engaged in a war of words, each trying to outdo the other, to win, to make a point. But then one person stops. They say nothing. They simply listen or walk away. The other person is left speaking into the emptiness. They expected a reaction, but they got none. And suddenly, they are forced to deal with their own words, their own actions. Silence disarms people because it removes their ability to control you with their words. It shows them that you are not easily shaken, not easily provoked. It leaves them with their own thoughts, which is often more powerful than anything you could say. In relationships, silence is a test of true connection. A deep bond does not require constant conversation. Two people can sit in silence and still feel understood. They can communicate without words, through a glance, through a presence that speaks louder than sentences ever could. But on the other hand, silence can also reveal distance. When words stop flowing between two people who once spoke endlessly, it is not always a lack of things to say. It is sometimes the presence of emotions too deep to be spoken. Silence in this form can be heartbreaking, but it is honest. Think about powerful leaders, wise sages, and influential figures in history. The strongest among them are not the ones who react to every insult, every challenge, every criticism. They are the ones who know when to stay silent. A king does not argue with a commoner. A lion does not roar at every barking dog. When you respond with silence, you are sending a message that you are not affected by the noise. And nothing frustrates those who seek to provoke you more than your silence. Even in battles, silence is a strategy. In chess, the most dangerous move is the one that is not immediately obvious. In war, the strongest armies are those that move in silence, unseen and unheard until it is too late. The same applies to life. When you remain silent, people cannot predict your next move. They do not know what you are thinking, what you are planning. They become uneasy, uncertain. And that uncertainty gives you power. Silence is also a great teacher. When you stop talking and start listening, you learn more about the people around you. You notice the small details, the subtle shifts in tone, the things left unsaid. You begin to see people for who they truly are, not just for who they pretend to be. Those who speak too much often reveal their weaknesses, but those who know when to remain silent hold the advantage. Silence can heal. In moments of grief, no words can truly comfort a heart in pain, but a silent presence, a hand held without words, a hug that says everything. These are the things that bring true comfort. Sometimes words are unnecessary. Sometimes they only dilute the depth of what is felt. Silence allows emotions to exist without force, without pressure, without the need for explanation. There is a reason why the most powerful moments in nature are silent. A sunrise does not announce its arrival with noise. It simply appears. And in its silence, it captivates the world. A deep forest carries wisdom not in words, but in the rustling of leaves, in the stillness of ancient trees. The ocean, despite its vastness, does not need to explain itself. It simply exists, and its presence is enough. The same is true for you. You do not need to explain your worth. You do not need to justify your choices to those who do not understand them. You do not need to respond to every insult, every provocation, every misunderstanding. Sometimes silence is the best answer. It is not weakness, it is not avoidance, it is strength, it is control, it is the power of knowing that your energy is too valuable to waste on unnecessary words. People will try to pull you into their chaos, into their drama, into their endless cycle of words and arguments, but you must remember that silence is your weapon. It is your shield, it is your strategy. The moment you stop explaining yourself to those who are committed to misunderstanding you, you reclaim your power. The moment you stop reacting to negativity, you free yourself from its influence. Not everyone deserves a response. Not every situation requires your voice. Sometimes your silence will teach them more than your words ever could. And that is the ultimate power, knowing when to speak and when to let silence do the talking. There is nothing more painful than realizing that someone you care about doesn't appreciate you. That all the effort, the kindness, the support you have given has gone unnoticed. That the very people you prioritize wouldn't do the same for you. But the truth is, people will take you for granted if you allow them to. It is not because they are bad, it is simply human nature. When something is always available, when someone is always saying yes, when love, attention and effort come without conditions, people start assuming it will always be there. Think about the sunrise. It happens every day, without fail. It is one of the most beautiful sights in the world, but how many people wake up just to admire it? How many people take a moment to appreciate its warmth? Very few. Why? Because they believe it will always be there. They assume that since it has never failed to appear, it never will. But imagine if one day the sun didn't rise. The world would be in chaos. People would suddenly realize its importance. They would long for its light, its warmth, its presence. The same applies to you. If you're always available, always forgiving, always putting others before yourself, people will assume that this is just who you are, that no matter what they do, you will always be there. They will not cherish you because they have never had to fear losing you. Look at your relationships, whether it's with family, friends, or a partner. Have you ever felt that someone does not value your presence? But the moment you distance yourself, they start to notice you. It's not because they suddenly love you more, it's because they are afraid of losing what they once took for granted. This is a painful realization, but it is also a powerful one. It shows you that people often only appreciate something when it is no longer easily available. You must teach people how to treat you. If you give endlessly without boundaries, you will exhaust yourself and still not be valued. If you always say yes, even when it inconveniences you, people will stop considering your feelings. If you forgive repeatedly without addressing the issue, they will assume there are no consequences for their actions. Imagine a well in a village. If the water is always overflowing, people will take as much as they want without thinking twice. They will waste it, spill it, take more than they need, because they assume there is no end to it. But if one day that well begins to dry up, suddenly every drop becomes precious. People take only what they need. They respect it, they value it, they fear its absence. Be like that well. Give but not endlessly. Love but not without limits. Be kind but not at the cost of your own dignity. Think about those who always seem to have an abundance of people around them. It is not necessarily because they are the kindest or the most giving. It is often because they know their worth. They do not chase, they do not overextend themselves. They do not beg for love or appreciation. They carry themselves in a way that says, I am valuable, and if you do not see that, I will not force you to. And because of this, people are drawn to them. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. Your presence, your energy, your time, these are gifts. And like any valuable gift, they should not be handed out carelessly. The people who genuinely care for you will respect your boundaries. They will appreciate your effort, and they will never make you feel like you are being taken for granted. But those who do not respect your worth will only realize it when you stop giving them the opportunity to take advantage of it. When you pull away, when you start saying no, when you stop making excuses for their behavior. This is not cruelty, it is self-respect. A person who knows their worth does not fear losing people. They understand that the right ones will stay and the wrong ones will leave. And that is perfectly fine. You are not here to convince anyone to see your value. You are here to live fully, to love deeply, and to be appreciated, not used. If you ever feel like you are being taken for granted, step back. Take time for yourself. Focus on those who truly appreciate you, and most importantly, never let your kindness become a weakness. Kindness is a strength, but only when given to those who deserve it. You are not a limitless source of energy for people to drain. You are a person, deserving of the same love, care, and respect that you give to others. Never forget this. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. The moment you stop allowing yourself to be taken for granted, you reclaim your power. And when you do that, you will see that the right people will value you even more, and the wrong ones will simply fade away. Let them. So today, make a choice. Let go of the version of yourself that no longer fits. Release the old identity that is holding you back. Step boldly into your new chapter, without fear, without hesitation. Because the only thing standing between you and the life you are meant to live is your willingness to embrace change. Your ego will resist change. Ignore it. Change is uncomfortable, it unsettles us, challenges us, and demands that we step into the unknown. But have you ever noticed how the moment you decide to change something in your life, a voice in your head immediately starts resisting? It tells you, no, this is too risky. What if you fail? What if people laugh at you? That voice is your ego. It is not your truth. It is simply a survival mechanism trained to keep you in the comfort of the familiar, even when the familiar is no longer serving you. The ego thrives on identity. It builds a fortress around who you think you are, who you have been, and who you believe you must continue to be. The moment you try to break free, it panics. It convinces you that you need to stay where you are because change feels like death to the ego. But the truth is, refusing to change is what keeps you stuck. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a swimming pool. The water is warm, inviting, and refreshing. But you hesitate. Your ego tells you, stay on the edge. It's safer here. What if the water is too deep? What if you sink? But you will never experience the joy of swimming unless you take that first step. Unless you let yourself feel the discomfort of the cold splash before you adjust and start moving freely. This is how change works. At first it feels unfamiliar. At first your ego resists. But once you push through, you realize you were always meant to grow beyond where you are now. Think about a butterfly inside a cocoon. For a long time it remains wrapped in that tight enclosed space, but there comes a moment when it has to break free or it will never fly. Now, imagine if the butterfly's ego told it, no, stay inside. It's comfortable here. Who do you think you are to? The butterfly would never spread its wings. It would never know its full potential. And yet so many of us listen to that voice inside us that says, stay the same, don't grow, don't evolve. But that voice is not wisdom. It is fear disguised as logic. Have you ever noticed how children embrace change so effortlessly? They move from one phase of life to another without hesitation. They grow, they learn, they adapt. But as adults, we start to build walls. We develop attachments to who we think we are. I am this kind of person. I have always done things this way. This is just who I am. But who you were yesterday does not have to be who you are today. Growth is a choice. And every time you choose to evolve, your ego will try to pull you back. Ignore it. Now let's bring this to real life. Think about someone who has been in a toxic relationship for years. They know it's bad for them. They know they deserve better. But every time they try to leave, their ego whispers, but what if you never find someone else? What if this is the best you'll ever get? You have invested too much time to walk away now. And so they stay trapped, not by the relationship itself, but by the fear their ego creates. The moment they decide to ignore that voice and step into the unknown, they reclaim their power. Or imagine someone who has been in the same job for years, unhappy, uninspired, knowing deep down they are meant for more. But the moment they think about leaving, their ego resists. What if you fail? What if you're not good enough? What will people think? So they stay in a place that drains them, simply because their ego convinces them that safety is better than growth. But nothing great ever comes from staying the same. The moment they silence their ego and take the risk, doors begin to open that they never imagined possible. The ego does not want you to succeed. It wants you to stay the same. It fears change because change means uncertainty. But here's the irony. The only way to truly live is to step into uncertainty. Everything great that has ever happened in your life happened because you ignored your ego and took a chance. The friendships you built, the lessons you learned, the experiences that shaped you, all of them required you to step beyond the limits of who you thought you were. Think of an athlete training for a competition. Every muscle in their body burns. Their mind tells them, stop, this is too hard. Their ego whispers, you can't handle this. But they push through, and that is what makes them stronger. Growth is painful, but stagnation is deadly. The discomfort of change is temporary, but the regret of not changing lasts forever. So, what is your ego holding you back from right now? What dreams have you ignored because that voice inside you keeps telling you it's too risky, too hard, too uncertain? Whatever it is, recognize that voice for what it is, fear dressed up as reason, and then ignore it, step forward anyway. Because on the other side of your ego's resistance is the life you are meant to live. Pain is the universe's way of pushing you forward. Pain is not your enemy. It is not a curse. It is not a punishment. Pain is the universe's way of shaking you, waking you up, and pushing you forward when you have stayed in the wrong place for too long. It is the hand that nudges you when you refuse to move, the storm that forces you to rebuild stronger, the fire that burns away what no longer serves you. But most people don't see pain this way. They resist it, fear it, and try to avoid it at all costs. They think pain means something is wrong, when in reality, pain is the greatest teacher life can offer. Think about a child learning to walk. The first few steps are wobbly. They fall, they scrape their knees, they cry. But do they stop trying? No. The pain does not make them quit. It makes them adjust. They learn how to balance, how to step more carefully, how to trust their legs, and before they know it, they're running. Now imagine if a child decided, this hurts too much, I am never trying again. They would never walk. But that is exactly what so many adults do. The moment life knocks them down, they say, this is too painful. I don't want to try again, and so they stay stuck. Pain is life's way of showing you that something needs to change. It is not meant to break you. It is meant to mold you into a stronger version of yourself. When you touch something hot, you pull your hand away. Pain is teaching you to protect yourself. When you experience heartbreak, it is the universe's way of showing you that this person was not meant for you. When you lose a job, it is life's way of pushing you towards something greater, something you would never have reached if you had stayed where you were comfortable. Think about the story of a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. Inside the cocoon, the caterpillar must struggle, pushing and breaking through what feels like an impossible barrier. But without this struggle, its wings would never develop the strength to fly. If someone were to cut the cocoon open and free it from the struggle, the butterfly would never survive. Its wings would remain weak and it would never soar. The struggle is necessary. The pain of breaking free is what gives it power. Now, look at your own life. Every time you've experienced deep pain, wasn't it also a turning point? Didn't it make you stronger, wiser, more aware of what you truly want? Pain strips away illusions. It forces you to see the truth. It pushes you to grow in ways comfort never could. The happiest, most successful people in the world are not the ones who avoided pain. They are the ones who embraced it, learned from it, and used it as fuel to become something greater. Think of a person who has just gone through a breakup. In the moment, it feels unbearable. Their heart aches, their mind replays memories, and they wonder if they will ever heal. But with time, they start to see things differently. They realize that the relationship was holding them back. They see the red flags they once ignored. They understand that this pain is not the end. It is a new beginning. It is the universe's way of clearing space for something better. And when that better thing arrives, a love that is deeper, more genuine, more aligned, they finally understand why they had to go through the pain first. Or consider someone who has faced failure. Maybe they started a business that collapsed, took a risk that didn't work out, or pursued a dream that seemed to fall apart. In the moment, failure feels like the worst thing in the world, but failure is just pain in disguise pushing you forward. The greatest inventors, leaders, and visionaries all faced failure, but they did not stop. They used their pain as a lesson, refined their approach, and kept moving forward. And because they did, they eventually succeeded in ways they never imagined. Pain is an alarm clock. It wakes you up when you have been asleep for too long. It shakes you when you have been ignoring your true path. It forces you to look at your life and ask, is this really where I want to be? When you stop running from pain and start listening to it, you realize that it is not here to harm you. It is here to guide you. It is the universe's way of removing what is not meant for you and preparing you for something greater. So the next time you feel pain, whether it is emotional, physical, or mental, don't see it as an enemy, see it as a message. Ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? What is this trying to move me toward? Because pain is never random. It always has a purpose. It is always leading you somewhere better, somewhere greater, somewhere you were always meant to be. And if you embrace it rather than resist it, you will realize that pain was never here to destroy you. It was here to set you free. Your higher self is waiting for you to catch up. There is a version of you that already exists, one that is wiser, stronger, more confident, and unshaken by the distractions of the world. This version of you does not second-guess decisions, does not settle for less than what is deserved, and does not cling to what is meant to be let go. It is your higher self, the person you are meant to become, and right now, that version of you is waiting for you to catch up. Most people live their lives looking backward. They hold on to their old ways, their old fears, their old limitations, thinking that change is too difficult, too painful, too uncertain. But deep inside, they know there is more for them. There is a voice inside that whispers, you are meant for greater things. But they silence it with excuses. I'm not ready. What if I fail? What if people judge me? And so they remain stuck in the same patterns, repeating the same cycles, living a life that does not match who they're truly capable of becoming. Imagine a person standing on the shore, staring at a boat that is ready to take them to a new land, a land where they can grow, thrive, and become the person they were always meant to be. The boat is waiting, the sea is calm, the journey is possible, but instead of stepping forward, they hesitate. They keep looking back at the shore, afraid to leave what is familiar. They convince themselves that staying in a place that no longer serves them is safer than stepping into the unknown. But the truth is, the boat will not wait forever. And every moment they delay, they are delaying their own destiny. Your higher self is calling you forward. It is calling you to let go of the insecurities, the self-doubt, the need for external validation. It is calling you to break free from relationships that drain you, from environments that no longer inspire you, from habits that keep you small. But here's the truth. Your higher self cannot do the work for you. It cannot pull you forward if you are still clinging to your past. You have to decide that you are ready to evolve. Think about the caterpillar that transforms into a butterfly. The caterpillar does not simply wake up one day and decide to fly. It undergoes a process of complete transformation. It builds a cocoon, a space where it must shed everything it once was to become something entirely new. If the caterpillar resists this change, it will never reach its full potential. It will remain grounded, crawling when it was meant to soar. Now, look at your own life. Where are you resisting growth? Where are you making excuses instead of making progress? You already know what you need to do. You already know the habits you need to break, the relationships you need to walk away from, the risks you need to take. Your higher self is not something you need to find, it is something you need to become. And the only thing standing between who you are now and who you are meant to be is the willingness to change. Many people say they want a better life. They want success, love, peace, and happiness. But when the time comes to do the work, they hesitate. They wait for the perfect moment, not realizing that the perfect moment does not exist. The time to step into your higher self is now, not later. Not when you feel ready, not when everything is easy, but now. Growth is uncomfortable, change is uncertain. But staying the same is far more painful in the long run. Imagine looking back 5 years from now and realizing that you could have been so much further ahead if only you had trusted yourself. Imagine the regret of knowing that your higher self was always within reach, but you were too afraid to step into it. The future version of you is watching, and it is not judging you for where you are, it is simply waiting. You have a choice. You can continue living by old patterns, holding on to an identity that no longer fits. Or you can step into the person you are meant to be. You can keep playing small, or you can rise to your full potential. No one can make this choice for you. The universe will give you signs, it will send you opportunities, it will push you toward growth. But ultimately you must take the step forward. Your higher self is not in the past. It is not in the comfort of what you have always known. It is in the unknown, in the risk, in the leap of faith. It is in the moments when you stop making excuses and start making decisions. It is in the discipline, the courage, the willingness to let go of what no longer serves you. And when you finally choose to catch up to your higher self, everything will shift. You will no longer seek validation from others because you will know your own worth. You will no longer fear change because you will understand that growth is the only way forward. You will no longer cling to the past because you will be too focused on building your future. So the question is not whether your higher self is waiting for you. The question is, are you ready to catch up? Fear of the unknown is just fear of power. Fear has a way of controlling people. It doesn't come with a warning. It disguises itself as logic, as caution, as practicality. It whispers, stay where it's safe. Don't risk the unknown. Don't take that leap. But the truth is, it's not the unknown you are afraid of. It's the power that awaits you on the other side of it. Look at your life. How many times have you held back from something just because you didn't know what would happen next? The job you didn't apply for because you weren't sure if you were qualified. The opportunity you turned down because you feared it would change too much. The relationship you didn't fight for because you weren't sure where it would lead. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if I make a fool of myself? But let's shift the perspective. What if you succeed? What if you discover something extraordinary? What if you become unstoppable? That is the real fear, not failure, not uncertainty, but the realization that if you take that step, you will never be the same again. The powerless, hesitant version of you will be gone forever. Imagine a person who has lived their whole life in darkness. One day, they see a door slightly open, revealing a bright light outside. Their instinct is not to run toward it, it's to shut the door. Not because they love the darkness, but because the light is overwhelming, it's unfamiliar, it's powerful, and they don't know what they will become once they step into it. That's what fear does. It convinces you that the light is too bright, that the power is too much, that the unknown is too risky. But let's talk about the unknown itself. Is it really dangerous? Or is it just a space you haven't explored yet? When you were a child, walking was unknown to you. Speaking was unknown. Writing was unknown. But you did not let that stop you. You tried. You fell. You got back up. And eventually the unknown became familiar and you gained power. The power to move, to communicate, to express yourself. And now you don't even think about those things because you have mastered them. The same applies to the challenges in your life right now. The next level of your growth, the next version of yourself is just on the other side of your fear. But to get there, you must be willing to walk into the unknown. You must be willing to feel uncomfortable. Because power does not come from staying where you are. It comes from pushing through fear, from embracing uncertainty, from proving to yourself that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. Think about a seed buried in the ground. It is safe there. It knows the soil. It knows the darkness. But the moment it starts to grow, everything changes. The roots push deeper. The stem breaks through the surface. Suddenly it is exposed to the sun, the wind, the rain. It is no longer in its familiar world. But if the seed resisted growth, if it feared the unknown, it would never become a tree. It would never reach its full potential. Now think about yourself. What version of you is waiting to break through the surface? What version of you is trapped because fear is telling you to stay buried? You see, your greatest self is not found in what you already know. It is found in the moments when you take a step without knowing exactly where it leads. It is found in the courage to move forward even when fear is screaming at you to stop. Most people never become who they are meant to be because they listen to fear. They let it control their choices. They let it dictate their lives. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't, it is the ability to move forward despite fear. It is the ability to recognize that fear is just an illusion. It is just the mind trying to protect itself from the unfamiliar. But let's be honest. Has staying in the familiar ever truly made you happy? Have you ever looked back and been proud of the times you played it safe? Or is it the risks, the leaps, the moments you chose to trust yourself that made you feel alive? The unknown is not your enemy. It is your invitation. It is life calling you to step into something greater. It is your power waiting for you to claim it. So the next time you feel fear creeping in, the next time your mind tells you to stay small, remind yourself of this. You are not afraid of the unknown. You are afraid of your own power. And that power is waiting for you to say yes. The only way forward is through surrender. There is a moment in life when you realize that no amount of control, no amount of resistance, and no amount of fighting can change what is happening. You plan, you strategize, you try to bend life to your will, but still things don't go as expected. You hold on tightly, thinking that if you just push harder, if you just do more, you can make life obey you. But the truth is, the more you fight, the more you suffer. The more you resist, the more pain you feel. Because life is not meant to be controlled. It is meant to be experienced. And the only way forward is through surrender. Surrender is not giving up. It is not weakness. It is not admitting defeat. It is the ultimate act of strength. It is saying, I trust the flow of life more than I trust my fear. It is understanding that you are not separate from life. You are life itself. And life always knows where to take you, even when you do not understand the path. Imagine standing in the ocean facing the waves. If you try to fight them, if you try to stand rigidly against the tide, you will be knocked over. The water will crush you, pull you under, and leave you gasping for air. But if you surrender, if you let go, if you move with the waves instead of against them, you will float, you will glide effortlessly with the current. Life is the same way. It is constantly moving, constantly changing, constantly flowing. And when you resist that flow, you suffer. When you surrender, you rise. Look at your own life. How many times have you held on to something that was no longer meant for you? A relationship that was falling apart, but you refused to let go? A dream that was no longer serving you, but you clung to it out of fear? A past version of yourself that no longer fit, but you couldn't release because you didn't know who you would be without it? Holding on creates suffering. Surrendering creates freedom. But surrender is terrifying, because to surrender means to accept that you do not have all the answers. It means to trust that something greater than your mind is guiding you. And the mind does not like that. The mind wants control. It wants certainty. It wants guarantees. But life does not work that way. Life does not give you guarantees. It gives you opportunities. It does not give you certainty. It gives you possibilities. And when you surrender, you allow those possibilities to unfold. Think about a time in your life when something didn't go as planned. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe you faced heartbreak. Maybe you had to walk away from something you thought you wanted. At that moment, it felt like the end. It felt like life was falling apart. But later, when you look back, you realize that it was all happening for a reason. That what you lost made space for something greater. That the pain you felt was actually pushing you towards something better. That what you thought was the worst moment of your life was actually the beginning of something beautiful. This is the power of surrender. It is not passive. It is the most active choice you can make. It is looking at life and saying, I trust this process. It is letting go of the illusion of control and stepping into the vastness of possibility. It is allowing yourself to be led rather than forcing yourself to lead. Imagine a river. It does not force itself to move. It does not fight against the rocks. It does not resist the bends in its path. It simply flows. And because it flows, It carves mountains, shapes landscapes, and reaches the ocean with grace. Now imagine if the river fought against its course. If it said, I do not want to go this way, I must go that way instead. It would only create struggle, turbulence, chaos. But because it surrenders, it finds its way with ease. You are that river. Your life is meant to flow. Your path is unfolding exactly as it should. And when you stop resisting, when you surrender to the current, everything becomes easier. The pain lessens, the confusion fades, and clarity arrives. But surrender does not mean you do nothing. It does not mean you stop making choices. It means you stop forcing things that are not meant for you. It means you stop trying to control the uncontrollable. It means you take inspired action, but allow life to guide the outcome. Imagine climbing a mountain. You can either fight against the wind, complain about the climb, and resist every step, or you can embrace the journey. You can trust that each step is leading you somewhere beautiful, that the struggle is part of the experience, that the view at the top is worth the climb. This is surrender, not standing still, but moving forward with trust instead of fear. Most people never find peace because they are always fighting. Fighting life, fighting themselves, fighting the unknown. But true peace comes when you surrender. When you stop trying to force life into your plan and start allowing life to show you a better one. So ask yourself, what are you holding on to that is causing you pain? What are you resisting that is keeping you stuck? What would happen if you let go? If you stopped fighting? If you simply surrendered? You might just find that everything you were chasing was waiting for you all along. Surrender is not weakness. It is power in its purest form. It is standing in the storm, not trying to fight the wind, but letting it carry you to where you were always meant to be. It is knowing that life is not happening to you, it is happening for you. The universe is not your enemy, it is your greatest ally. It does not take from you to punish you. It removes to make space. It does not break you to destroy you. It shakes you to awaken you. So what are you afraid of? Losing control? The truth is you never had control in the first place. Control is an illusion the mind clings to, a false sense of security. But real security comes not from controlling life, but from trusting it, from knowing that no matter what happens, you will rise. No matter how dark it gets, the dawn will come. No matter how lost you feel, the path will reveal itself, if only you stop resisting. Look at the people who have truly thrived in life. They did not get there by gripping tightly to the past. They did not reach greatness by staying where it was safe. They surrendered to something greater than themselves. They let go of their fears, their doubts, their need for guarantees, and stepped into the unknown with faith. That is why they succeeded. That is why they became legends. You are standing at the edge of your next chapter. You have a choice. You can cling to what is familiar, hold on to what is safe, refuse to let go of what no longer serves you. Or you can surrender. You can take the leap. You can trust that the net will appear. That the moment you release control is the moment you gain your true power. Because the universe does not reward fear, it rewards faith. Every time you've held on to something too tightly, life has found a way to pry your fingers loose. Every time you've resisted change, it has come anyway. Every time you've feared the unknown, you have still moved forward. Because you were never meant to stay the same. Growth demands surrender. Evolution requires letting go. And if you want to step into the life that is meant for you, you must first release the life that was. Stop fearing the fall. You were born to fly. Stop fearing the unknown. It holds more for you than you can imagine. Stop fighting the current. It is leading you exactly where you need to be. Life is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher. And the lesson it keeps trying to show you is this: the only way forward is through surrender. So take a breath, close your eyes, let go, and watch how life carries you to everything you've ever dreamed of and more.